Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. You might be encouraged because AMC stock is up almost 5% here on the day. Let's talk about exactly why that is, what's going on with AMC as well as the broader markets, and what you need to know. Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, subscribe to the channel. And number 3, and most importantly, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Number 4, if you want to come trade with us live in real time every time I make a trade or any other member in the community, well, they post their trades as well. Link down below in the description of this video. We can come talk and have some conversations about what is currently going on. So, first things first, what you need to know. A couple things that are happening in the markets today. So, home builder sentiment dropped sharply as mortgage rates surge over 7%. Builder sentiment dropped 6 points to 50 in August, according to the National Association of Home Builders / Wells Fargo Housing Market Index. Anything over 50 is considered positive, so you're at neutral. Mortgage rates are now holding solidly over 7%, hitting 7.24% Monday, according to Mortgage News Daily. The shares of builders cutting prices rose to 25% in August, from 22% in July. So basically what this means is home builders are not seeing great things coming, right? It's kind of forward looking in the sense of usually sentiment precedes reality. If you are starting to see things turning down a little bit, less orders coming in, if you're seeing less people actually signing on to have you build them a house, right, to sign contracts and developments, then usually your sentiment drops. And that's kind of what we're seeing. That actually could be a positive as far as inflation and the stubborn housing market inflation. Basically, all of the inflation that we see in the last report was housing. Without housing, you would have been slightly negative on your inflation report. So, yeah. It's a very big deal. Now, a couple other things that are happening today. Retail sales increased 0.7% in July, better than expected as consumer spending is holding up. Now, this is actually positive because you don't want to see the economy basically deteriorate and go into a recession. That's not what you want to see. I would argue that that's what the markets have already been pricing in, at least for your small and mid-cap stocks. Stocks such as AMC. So you're getting a little bit of that kind of pushback in some certain stocks, especially those that have fallen a lot recently. AMC is bouncing because it has fallen a lot recently. That's basically the long story short. And I think there's an interesting dynamic that is playing out with AMC specifically, and we'll talk about that in just 1 second. Now, the advanced retail sales report showed a seasonally adjusted increase of 0.7% for the month, while spending increased 1% excluding autos. Both were better than the 0.4% estimates. July's numbers were boosted by a 1.9% jump in spending at online retailers, while sporting goods and related stores increased 1.5%, and food service and drinking places rose 1.4%. A separate report showed the import prices moved 0.4% higher in July, more than the 0.2% estimate. However, virtually the entire increase was driven by fuel prices. So that's not good. Import prices going higher, not good, but it was mainly driven by fuel prices, and that is really temporary. Can we use the word transitory? Is that allowed now? I don't know. The Empire State Manufacturing Survey slumped 20 points in August to a reading of negative 19, though the index for future conditions posted a sharp gain. That one's kind of weird, kind of a head scratcher. Anything obviously negative is negative and not good. And this dropped 20 points in August. Not very good. Now, I think the biggest thing that's actually affecting the markets today is that Fitch is warning it may be forced to downgrade dozens of banks, including JP Morgan Chase. This comes after the news that we just got on August 8th, where Moody's downgraded U.S. banks and warns of possible cuts to others. Moody's downgraded 10 banks, including the Bank of New York Mellon, U.S. Bancorp, State Street, and Truist Financial. and put those banks on review for a potential downgrade. They also said some of your large lenders like Capital One, Citizens Financial, and Fifth Third Bank Corp, they changed their outlook to negative for these banks. So this is not really great in terms of banking crisis or lending or the economy actually growing. When banks don't do well, most other things do not do well also. So those are the big stories that are actually happening here today. One of those interesting situations where some things are okay. Some things are actually pretty good, like retail sales. And then other things are pretty bad. And it looks like the bad is winning today. And you can see the NASDAQ down 0.66%, Russell 2000 down 0.78%, S&P 500 down 0.74%. So considering the drop that we're seeing, this move in AMC really looks like an even bigger outlier here because the broader markets are not so happy today. AMC stock is up about 4% currently as I am speaking. Now, what's going on with AMC? I think it's pretty obvious. While shorts are not covering and there's no sign of any of that kind of activity happening, there's a very positive with this reverse split and ultimate dilution, and that is that AMC is not going to go bankrupt. And that's a pretty good reason to, maybe put on some upside hedges or even buy the stock. AMC's business is in a much better place now than it has been over the past 18 months or so. That is obvious and pretty clear. AMC just turned a profit last quarter. And I think these things are still having a positive effect on AMC. All things considered, the stock dropped about 35% yesterday, and that looks like a pretty big overreaction. I think we could all agree on that. And ultimately, when you think about this logically, the short thesis is over. There's no reason to really be short in AMC anymore. So to see some upside from here makes a lot of sense. And like I said yesterday, the next move is likely to be higher. And that's exactly what is happening today. Now, let's take a look at the option activity. 73 orders totaling $12.65 million with a positive order value of 2%. So it's not like shorts are covering. It's not like things are super bullish as far as hedge funds and institutions when they're still massively going short via the options. Now, something that could be affecting AMC as well today, and I think this makes a little bit more sense, is some of the FTD numbers are actually hitting their peaks today and then will start to fall. So the FTDs today is at 14.2 million. Tomorrow you're going to drop to 13 million, and then you're going to drop to 12.7 million, and then to about 11 million. So you do start to actually decline after today. Now we'll see what ultimately does happen, especially once we get the next couple of weeks of FTD numbers, because especially with this ruling from the courts, that could really spike some of the FTD numbers. So I am watching for that. And maybe you're getting some of those FTDs that are actually being delivered on and no longer being FTDs. I think that is pretty interesting and would kind of explain what's happening today. Now, let's take a look at the Stonko tracker data as well for this week. You have seen actually a lot of calls get placed as well. These numbers were not this high on the call side. You got 629,000 calls currently out the money, about 40,000 calls in the money. In the money puts at 639,000, out the money puts at 467,000. I do think 350 is a big level as far as the options and just on a psychological basis. If you hold 350 by the end of the day today, you're going to see a lot of those puts go from into the money, out of the money, and that is positive, and that gives you a form of buying pressure. But psychologically speaking, $3.50 should be a major level of resistance if the stock is not going to make its way higher. The stock currently is at $3.56 per share. That's a very good sign. And if you hold $3.50, then $4 per share does not look too far out of the realms of possibility. And then once you get over $4, then you start talking about $4.50 or even back to $5 or $6. Now, I think something that's also having an effect on AMC stock today is everyone's under this narrative that AMC is just going to dump shares on the market. They're going to raise a lot of money. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. Yeah, sure, AMC has the ability to do that, but are they actually going to do that? I don't think that is nearly as likely as what some investors were thinking yesterday when the stock was dropping 35%. It's like the markets have already, with a foregone conclusion, said AMC is going to raise a lot of capital and they're going to dilute the stock a lot. And that's not a guarantee. Odds are AMC does not raise capital right away because the stock has fallen recently. They probably want the stock to go higher before they raise capital because, logically speaking, if this share price is higher, you can raise more money by selling stock. So they have a very strong incentive now that they can raise capital to actually get the share price to go higher. I think they would be okay raising capital at $35, roughly where AMC would be after the reverse split if it were to happen today. I think they'd be comfortable with doing that, but I don't think they would want to. I think they would much rather raise capital at $40 or $50 per share or even higher than that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about here. And I think that is something else that is also helping AMC stock today. I think the narrative just got way too bearish and really unjustifiably so. So there is all of that. Now let's take a broad overlook at the Ortex data as well. Another big story is the cost to borrow fees. Cost to borrow fees today, 1,060% for the cost to borrow max. Cost to borrow average, 881%. Cost to borrow minimum, 339.5%. But not even that, just Interactive Brokers, 769.73% cost to borrow fees. Almost 70% cost bar fees are insane, especially after what we just seen. It looks like a lot of people want to get their hands on shares to continue to sell short in AMC stock. It looks like the short interest of free float is going up 0.72% here on the day, so a little bit more of activity shorting AMC, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the stock just dropped 35%. That's not really the time you would want to get into a short position. So I do think the cost of borrow fees are also kind of having a role to play in affecting the stock, right, and driving the stock higher. Now, AMC stock is still on the threshold securities list as well, as we have seen over the past couple of weeks. Now, borrowed shares today sitting at 3.06 million shares. Return shares at 55.7 thousand. So a lot more borrowed shares than actually return shares. The difference is about 3 million net borrowed shares. So odds are there's a lot of shorting that is taking place today, but being offset by some of these other factors that we have been talking about here in this video so far. So there is that. Now, as far as the earnings situation that we're going to have in after hours, you do have New. That's I believe, Brazilian bank, H&R Block, Elegant Technologies, a couple names, but nothing too crazy. Wednesday pre-market, so tomorrow pre-market, Target, Zim, JD.com, and TJ Maxx. Those are going to be your important earnings. As far as the retailer, Home Depot earnings were decent. They weren't great. They weren't terrible. They were decent. And that is another positive factor on the day today. If Home Depot earnings were bad, considering all the other bad news that we got, then we would be in a little bit of a worse situation today. So we do still have quite a few retail earnings that will be important, including Thursday in pre-market for Walmart. That one is also probably the biggest retail earnings for sure out there. And if Walmart has bad earnings, then that would not be good. But then again, for AMC, if you're in this trade for the short squeeze, well, if the markets fall, that's less collateral that is available out there, and that could be positive for AMC as well. So you're getting a little bit of that inversion, that difference between the markets are down, AMC's up. And we do see that from time to time with AMC, and those tend to be pretty good time periods for AMC. So we'll see what happens. That's at least what is happening today. That's what you need to know so far. We don't have much other things to actually cover here in this video. Again, as far as the technicals, I just want to reiterate, you want to stay above $3.50 per share. If you do and you hold that throughout the day today, AMC stock's up 5.5%. It looks like that's probably what's going to happen. Then you do have that gap to fill, that 34% gap. The part of the fill level would be around $4 per share. If you close above $3.50, $4 per share looks a lot more likely. And then again, you can start to make your way higher. But as far as AMC on the downside, $3.18 per share, that is the low. I would be very surprised if you fell under $3.18 per share. I didn't even expect to fall there. I thought $3.50 made a lot more sense. That's where we're at today. So we'll take it. You're there. We just overextended, little dramatic on the sell-off yesterday. So that's going to do it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.